there is a whole new group of monkeys who did not have any clue why they are not going up and grabbing the bananas, but none of the monkeys dared to climb the ladder. The second line of command is not in tune with what the leadership have the vision and the mission and the goal. That will never work unless and until the leader talks the talk and walks the talk and make the team members and the people who are down in the hierarchy. What is the challenge that we face when we are talking to a boss or a supervisor or a leader? The very idea of being judged.
Yes.
That is what pulls us back.
Exactly.
Our history was about how Britishers came to India, freedom movement. If you look into that kind of education as well, there was a hero and there was a villain.
Why is diversity, equity and inclusion, or the way we call it DEI, more than just a moral imperative? Because it's a backbone of innovation, resilience and long-term success in today's world. DEI isn't just about doing what's right. It's about unlocking the full potential of every individual within an organization. Driving better decision making, fostering creativity and building teams that reflect the diversity of the markets they serve. Welcome to the Collaborative Canvas, the podcast where we dive into the stories, insights, and expertise from some of the most impactful professionals across the industry. I'm your host, Ankesh, Saxena, and today we are embarking on an incredibly important conversations about diversity, equity, and inclusion in the workplace. Joining me is the esteemed Leeza Dutta Singh, a seasoned corporate lawyer with over 18 years of experience. Leeza has worked with global corporations like EXL, InnoData Isogen, and Claire Volex, navigating complex legal frameworks and compliance landscape across regions like US, EU, and Australia. Her specialization in POSH, the prevention of sexual harassment training and compliances, employment laws, and DEI regulation makes her sought after advisor for corporates and educational institutes alike. She trained over 1,500 professionals, including lawyers, doctors, police officials, on critical legal topics. Today, we are going to explore the intricate layer of DEI from its legal framework to its tangible impact on organization. Get ready for a powerful conversation that will enlighten, empower, and challenge how you think about workplace inclusivity. But before we jump in, there is a quick reminder. If you enjoy thought-provoking conversation with industry leaders and innovators, make sure to subscribe to the Collaborative Canvas. By subscribing, you will never miss an episode and will always have the latest insights delivered right to you. And if this episode resonates with you after listening it, don't forget to leave a review or share it with someone who would benefit from these insights. Welcome, Leeza.
Thank you, Ankesh. Thank you very much for inviting me to this very important discussion and conversation on diversity, equity and inclusion. DEI is not just a professional passion for me. For me, DEI is a fundamental part of creating a long-lasting and meaningful, relationship and building an organization where there is fairness, where there is respect, and where people have a sense of belongingness. So this is a topic which is very, very fundamental and a part of a long-lasting, in fact, change in the workplace as well as community and beyond. This is also an opportunity. When you understand diversity, you also understand the society, the community, the workplace, and also how we behave, in our day-to-day relationship when we are working in an organization. So this is again a very, very important topic, close to my heart as well. And I would consider diversity as the foundation of progress. So thank you so much for inviting me to the podcast.
Thank you so much, Leeza. In fact, that's where the conversation all started, because I saw you in the Women of Research and you were actually presenting a case there about
Yes.
DEI.
Yeah.
And I thought that's a very much a topic which everybody wanted to hear and know more,
Yes.
and specifically when it comes to workplace inclusivity.
Yes.
And I think very vibrant topic in its own nature, because even I have been hearing for about DEI pretty late, I think 2020 and post after that. And I had my own questions, and even I am not completely aware of what exactly covers into this. So I'll probably start with saying, let's understand a DE from your perspective.
Okay.
You mentioned it about how this thing work and why it is more role driven and important. I wanted to understand, when we spoke about this last week, you said it's a moral imperative.
Yeah.
So considering that, it translates into certain tangible benefits for the organization, what is that moral imperative we talk about here?
Okay. So, when we talk about moral imperative, I would say that diversity, equity, and inclusion is indeed very, very crucial and important because it fosters a culture of collaboration. When organization brings in individuals from various backgrounds, irrespective of the race, gender, caste, creed, sex, place of birth, ethnicity. It brings a culture of collaboration, and it brings a culture where it fosters innovation, and it also helps in building an organization where the company thrives, because there are people coming with very different perspective, people coming with different skill sets, people coming from various paths. They bring in their expertise, and that also helps in encouraging problem solving attitude in the organization with innovation, and that also it also questions the status quo, right?
Yeah.
And it avoids group thinking. So when there are people coming in from various spheres of life together, they bring in a variety, because it says variety is the spice of life,
Yeah.
right? So that brings in different flavors, and when there are different flavors, in fact that also helps. In fact, COVID-19 have been a very, very good eye opener, I would say, for all of us, especially in workplace, where companies which had diverse workforce, they were better equipped to handle the crisis that brought in. And in fact, you would also, if you look into the various studies that have been done on diversity and inclusion, like you asked how tangible it is, right?
Yep.
I would say that it is very much measurable, and there have been various reports. If you look into McKinsey and Company's report on diversity and inclusion, they had run a diversity wins series, and they had come up with reports in 2015, 2018, and 2020. So 2015 report, which says why diversity matters. 2018 report says delivering through diversity, and the 2020 report, which is diversity wins, how inclusion works. So these are the various reports, which studies done by McKinsey and Company, and what they have come out with the analysis is there is a direct correlation between diversity and productivity. The McKinsey's annual report of 2023 reveals that organizations which have more than 30% of the women as in their workforce are better equipped and are performing better than their peers and competitors who have women workforce between 10 to 30% or less than that. So just imagine how important it is to have a diverse workforce and have an inclusive mentality in the organization, and also take care of. And again, when I say diversity and inclusivity, there is a very important component, which is equity. Now, there is a difference between equity. Equity means treating
Everybody
people equal. There is a difference between though equity and equality. Equality is treating everybody equal, but equity is adjusting the need to the requirement of the receiver, to the person.
So
I
the
can
way
say,
I am,
Yeah.
I would not consider you as the same, because
Yes.
we have some diverse
Yes,
thought.
yes.
And which is where, this whole framework works, where
Yes.
we consider you both as the same for the benefit of the organization.
Absolutely,
Okay.
absolutely. So let's say, for example, if there are three kids of various heights who are watching a football game. Now, equality means, let's say one is tall enough and there's a wall in between. One is tall enough to just see through the wall and watch the football match. The second one has a little lesser height, and then you provide box so that he there's a platform where he can stand and watch. And the third one is even shorter, so you provide two platforms. That is equity. However, equality is you provide three platforms
And the same everyone.
to everyone. So that is the difference between equity and equality. And that is why when we talk about diversity, DEI, we say diversity, equity, and inclusion. So all this research by McKinsey and company, and there are definitely other reports also, which have in fact proved that there is a correlation and it is tangible. You can measure it. You can measure it. There are certain metrics that the quantitative metrics, qualitative metrics. You can run employee satisfaction surveys, and design, your organization goals towards it so that it aligns well.
And which is what more of the McKinsey reports were all about.
Yes. So they did the study to come up with the conclusion that, as I said, there's a direct correlation between diversity and productivity. Organizations which are more inclusive, who encourages, individuals with different skill sets coming from various backgrounds are more are more useful, and they help in solving critical and complex problems rather than individuals who come from the same background or same environment. So that the more diverse the workforce, the better growth it is for the organization.
Makes sense.
And also to help adapt to the fast changing market in today's day.
Okay. Leeza, let's go back to the frameworks again, which McKinsey published over a period of time. So I'm sure, when they were doing all these CSATs or employee satisfaction surveys, they probably have been, considering the laws as well, because
Yes.
every country has their own laws
Yes.
with respect to the. So what are the most relatable laws and how they differ from country to country? Because you probably have worked across different regions. So
Yeah.
I think.
Sure. So when it comes to diversity and inclusion, global organizations have to navigate through a wide range of laws and regulations which apply specific, and there are specific laws also with respect to specific regions. However, if we want to broadly classify the laws which which we see across globe, so you can bucket it as anti-discrimination policies. You can put it into laws towards person with disabilities. There are laws for equal payment for equal work. All right. So these are some of the laws which are across globe. Now, moving closer home, let us also discuss the Indian scenario, all right? Moving closer homes, the legal framework, or how the government and the legislation in India have been framing laws. And in fact, there have been changes also, changing with the need of the hour, how our society and how, as a country, we are, the trends are changing, and how we are also accordingly framing laws which addresses the concerns and challenges of the current society, especially when it is related to workplace. So, as we all know, India is a colorful country, and we are very adaptive, we are very adjusting, and we consider diversity unity in diversity as our strength, because every 200 kilometers you travel in our country, you will find a different language, a different cuisine, a different culture, right? That diverse we are.
Yeah.
And we are a vast country. However, there is a unity, right? Now, in order to sustain that unity, it is not something which it can sustain only culturally and socially. There needs to be legal framework which helps in shaping it up. And that is where the Indian legal framework comes into picture. So let us take it step by step. Let us first look into the constitutional mandate. The Constitution of India under Article 14 says everybody is equal in the eyes of law. Now, time and again, the Supreme Court have established and enforced that yes, everybody is equal in the eyes of law. I'll refer to the very important judgment and landmark judgment on Navteej Singh Johar versus Union of India, which came out in 2018. And in that case, the Supreme Court said that as for Article 14, everybody is equal in the eyes of law. And Supreme Court says that yes, everybody is equal in the eyes of law. And even if there is a marginalized section and the law is unfair to them, even the law is subject to scrutiny. So this is the same case where the Supreme Court decriminalized 377, where consensual adults, entering into any sexual activities within the same sex was criminalized before, because that was a historic, pre-British era law which have been, going on. And in this case, this case came up as a landmark judgment where the court said that if even there is a small section towards whom the law is unfair, it does not treat them as equal, then that law needs to be struck down. And that is the reason why 377 was, struck down. Now, again, Article 15 of the Indian Constitution, it says you cannot discriminate on the basis of sex, race, gender, religion, or place of birth. That is not allowed. It's a fundamental right of every Indian citizen, yes, of every individual. Similarly, Article 16 gives equal opportunities for employment. All right, and in fact, in the case that I have discussed, Navteej Singh Johar versus Union of India, the Supreme Court delved, elaborately into Article 14, Article 15, Article 19. And Article 21 as well. So, the legal framework as far as diversity and equity and inclusion is concerned, the Constitution itself places
A vital role.
Yes, plays that vital role, and that gives us the foundation.
And it is not just simply certain articles. They probably look at from a variety of the perspective
Yes,
of
yes,
the Constitution.
that is the start.
That's the start.
That is the basis, I would say, because all the laws drive down from the Constitution, right? So that is where it has been engraved and ingrained, and that is where we derive all our other legal framework. Now, moving on to other areas of law. Now, let us consider workplace inclusion laws. So when we talk about workplace inclusion laws, there is law on equal remuneration, right? Equal remuneration of 1976, which says that irrespective of the gender, if the nature of work is same or similar, the pay should be,
High.
same and similar.
Okay.
Similarly comes the law on sexual harassment of women at workplace, Prevention, Prohibition and Redressal Act 2013. So, which is also known as the POSH Act. Now, the POSH Act has been framed to protect the dignity and respect of women in workplace, which came into effect in 2013 after the famous Nirbhaya Kand. Because, in fact, as far as POSH is concerned, the genesis goes back to a time in 1900s, 1997, when there were the Vishakha guidelines came into effect, and the Supreme Court ruled in that particular case and put out the guidelines that women need to feel safe in a working environment. And after that, although those was guidelines and they were not implemented as such, guidelines are something that you need to follow, right? You cannot force it if somebody is not complying to it. However, in 2012, when the Nirbhaya Kand happened, there was this need and this uproar among the society. People came out and then forced the legislatures to frame laws to protect women in workplace, and accordingly the POSH Act came into its effect. Now, POSH Act strictly lays down the laws and says and compliances, saying that every organization, which is an organized sector, having 10 or more employees, should comply with the POSH Act. And what is the compliance? The compliance is to have a policy in place, to train the employees on do's and don'ts.
But why is it more than 10?
No, 10 or more.
But
Because less than 10, it becomes under unorganized sector. Now, I'll come to that. So the POSH Act applies to both organized as well as unorganized sector. But if it is more than 10, that is considered as an organized sector. So when it comes to organized sector, every organization needs to have a policy in place, needs to train their employees on POSH compliances, needs to have an internal committee. All right, who will investigate on any such complaints on sexual harassment against women, and they also need to file yearly annual report, and any non-compliance will attract a fine of 50,000 or more. This is for the organized sectors.
One more question out of the blue, because you just mentioned that there should be a committee in the organization.
Yes.
Who should comply, or who should be the eligible people to be part of these committees?
Okay, so as per the POSH Act, the committee should be formed with minimum 4 members, where the chairperson or the presiding officer of the committee should be a women employee in a senior level in the organization. She will be the chairperson. 50% of the committee members should be women, and there should also be an external member in the committee. Why external member? Because when you are having a committee, you could be biased. Yeah. So to bring it that unbiasedness, the law says that when you are framing the committee, first have a female employee who is in a senior level to be the presiding officer, 50% women, an external member who will bring in unbiasedness in the investigation. Again, POSH law gives the organization the benefit, I would say, or the privilege to decide on any cases on sexual harassment raised by women in an organization within the 4 corners of the organization.
And these 4 corners are?
The 4 corners are this committee. This committee would take the complaint, inquiry about it, come up with the findings, and give a recommendation whether this complaint is a genuine one or it is a false complaint, and accordingly what kind of disciplinary action or what kind of punishment should be meted out to the accused.
Leeza, this is basically for the POSH. So I understood that there should be a senior person in the organization to lead the committee.
Female. Yes.
Considering that it's all about POSH, and out of the 4, 3 are females.
Yeah, no, 50%.
50%. So
Yeah.
out of the 4, 2 will be female and 2 will be males.
Could be male, could be female. I mean,
depending upon how the organization is being set up.
But ideally, it should be, again, to have an unbiased committee, you need to have, there should be a balance. I would suggest have 2 female, members and 2 male members. In fact, I would also like to say that what I suggest as a POSH trainer and as a certified, a consultant for POSH, what I suggest is rather have a 5-member committee. Why? Because whenever you have you are inquiring the case and you have come to a conclusion, there are chances that all the committee members may not agree to the findings.
So the majority versus minority, you get it out of this. Yeah, got it.
So that brings the fairness.
Yeah.
So this is another very important legislation when it comes to workplace inclusion. Another is the government again looked into the others segments of the community, so society, where that those workforce have been neglected. And then they came up with the amendment of the Maternity Benefit Act in 2017. So what did the Maternity Benefit Act do? Amendment Act bring in? It brought in that the maternity benefit would be available to women, increasing the leave period from 12 weeks to 26 weeks. Right.
Okay.
Yeah, and then also, it has laid down the laws and rules that every organization should be able to provide crutch facility, to such mothers who's coming to work after 6 months of maternity leave. Work from home policy. That all, it is also laid down there in the as that came with the amendment, that there should be work from home policy if there is a new mother who's tending towards a baby, and after 6 months she's supposed to join back the organization, if it is possible, if the work allows, her job role, her job profile allows her to work from home, even that facility
But
should be.
does this part also covers under the POSH?
No, this is I'm talking about the Maternity Benefit Act.
Okay. So considering that, their implementation processes are different in every organization, so when it comes to the EI all today, but even when we go into this, larger conversations into implementing, one other question that I was actually, thinking was, when you say a senior person, how do you define that senior person? Because an organization, the woman sitting at the top, when I say top, it's not the top management, but probably in a certain role. So say she could be a manager of a certain department, and she's the manager of the department, but there are other hierarchies above her.
Absolutely. So see, when it comes to senior most, obviously, and we are talking about organizations starting from 10 plus to thousands.
Yeah.
So again, if we delve deep, I think we can park that for another conversation
course.
on
Yeah, I
how,
think that needs a deeper conversation, because
Yes.
there's so many questions which pops in my mind, and there are
Yes.
a couple of cases that came to my vision as well.
Yeah.
But considering, let's go back to the other question, implementing the DEI to make an organization successful. There must be a lot of challenges, I'm sure, because you talked about different laws, you
Yes.
talked about different fields altogether,
Yes.
you talked about different diverse people,
Yeah.
and then organization has to keep them, in the same bucket.
Absolutely. In fact, there were even other laws. We have not touched about the Transgender Act, which came into effect in 2019. So then there is the Code of Social Security Act 2020, which, again, has brought up the benefits and addressed the inclusivity of gig and platform workers. Now, gig and platform workers, as we know, are the one who work for digital labs, people like freelancers or professionals who work on certain projects, or maybe, Swiggy, Zomato, associates, and who work for them, or the drivers or the riders for Uber, Ola. Now, what kind of security do they have? They do not have any insurance policy. They do not have any healthcare policy. So this code has brought in those regulations where workforce who work in gig and platform are also covered. So that is how in India the laws are being framed to cover all of this. Now, when we talk about Transgender Act, which came into effect in 2019, I don't know if you're aware, but there is a metro station specifically dedicated to transgender, and it is in Sector 50, Noida.
Oh,
It's called Rainbow Station.
I have heard of it,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I was not too sure about it.
And in fact, some of the workers working, employees working in that metro station are also transgenders.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And the Transgender Act also says that any commercial establishment, when they are hiring transgenders, and if there have been any complaints of discrimination, should have a complaints officer to address their concerns and also investigate the matter within 15 days.
So taking as an example, they also have a compliance officer and the complaint officer, rather.
Complaint officer.
In
That is what the
at the
law
metro
says.
station.
No,
Oh.
not the metro station. I'm saying
But
the
that
law
organization
says
should have.
Any organization
So
should
even not
have.
at the metro station, the entire organization will have, because they have the stations.
Yes,
something like- okay.
yes. And if we talk about the Indian states, Tamil Nadu is one of that progressive state which actually have a draft, policy on LGBTQ plus community. And again, talking about being inclusive, there are organizations like Cape Gemini who have in fact gone further ahead and being sensitive towards all kind of genders. They have a gender neutral restrooms. That is how organizations are trying to again bring in the change, so that more and more professionals feel that sense of belongingness to the organization, and they bring in, and when there is a sense of belongingness, there is more productivity, there is more innovation, there is creativity, and of course that all adds up to the profitability. So this is in with respect to the Indian context. There are many other laws as well in DEI.
I mean, considering that DEI is in itself a very vast topic,
Yeah.
and it would not be good enough to close this episode with just a little bit of pieces here and there.
Absolutely.
I think we really need to go deep dive into the posh thing which you mentioned, and the second thing that you mentioned was, I had my question about what kind of a leadership we should actually talk about it. So considering that role of the leadership is missing, and then the second another part, when they the committee is formed, you said they look into it, then inquiries being set up, and then at the end of the day the recommendations are also come. So we also look into the perspective of how this measure happens. And I think in order to have more details, we probably have to get into the episode number 2 of this.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
I think let's take this discussion a little further, considering that we are just running out of the time. So we'll do the second episode soon about it. Welcome back to the Collaborative Canvas, the podcast where we dive into impactful stories and insights with industry trailblazers shaping the future of the work and innovation. I'm your host, Ankesh, Saxena, and today we are continuing on an important conversation that resonated deeply with organizations worldwide, and that is diversity, equity, and inclusion. In the part 1 of our discussion, we explored the foundational aspect of DEI, and from its moral and business imperative to navigating DEI-related laws and implementing policies with authenticity. Joining us again is esteemed Leeza Dutta Singh, a seasoned corporate lawyer with 18 years of expertise specializing in POSH training, employment laws, and DEI compliances. Leeza's incredible work has touched the lives of more than 1,500 professionals. Today, we are doing a part 2 of this conversation where we will be deep diving into the strategic sides of the DEI, focusing on the pivotal role of leadership in fostering inclusion and the importance of measuring the impact of the DEI initiatives. So, before we jump in, just a quick reminder. If you're passionate about thought-provoking conversations with the leaders who inspire changes, make sure to subscribe to the Collaborative Canvas podcast on Spotify and YouTube, and hit that notification bell so you never miss an update. Now, without further ado, let's deep dive. Welcome again, Leeza, and thank you for joining us again on the part 2 of this episode.
Thank you so much, Ankesh. Thank you again for this opportunity.
And Leeza, there have been elements where leaders have to take a role.
Absolutely.
You have to. It always drive from top to bottom.
Yes.
If I do something right, I would follow the same thing, and I would let my organization follow. Considering that this is where you create a culture. So how this continuous learning and innovation within an organization with the leader can be created.
Okay. So when it comes to effective implementation, and very rightly asked, how can the leaders drive it? Leaders are the one who actually set the right tone. They are the one who lead by example, right? And when the leaders are very clear with their vision and what is the goal and how to achieve it, and they have a roadmap, that is when they can pull along the team and the people. Now, when we come to organizational level, organization is made of what? People, right? And when we talk about people in an organization, they come from various backgrounds, with coming from different religion, thought process, value system, and it is a very, very important aspect for the leaders to understand the dynamics of the people within the organization. And then for first there should be some data where the leaders identify how diverse is the group, right? And after that, I think it is very, very important and imperative for them to build a structure where the structure is inclusive and includes people from various backgrounds. Now, when it comes to the leadership, they also have a lot of challenges to face. The first is resistance to change. In any organization, if there is a status quo and there is a particular way of doing things, and then there is a vision and accordingly, it is shared with the employees or the people in the organization. Now, to overcome that, first of all, the leaders, the top leaders, should have the buy-in of the next level leaders who are directly interacting with, the group, with the people who are
The
working.
second line command.
The second line command, yeah. So first of all, it is very, very important to have their buy-in as well. And that is how, an effective implementation is possible. Because if the second line of command is not in tune with what the leadership have the vision and the mission and the goal, that will never work.
So help me understand, generally the problem arises from the bottom.
Yes.
And it goes to the top.
Yes.
And people at the top evaluate that problem.
Absolutely.
So why the second in command is so important for the leaders? Because they're also, part of the same leadership.
I'll tell you. Okay. So, the very rightly asked question, because this leads us to the second challenge, which is unconscious bias. Now, how do unconscious bias step in? People come, as I said, people come from various backgrounds and they have their own preconceived notions, right? And then it is a part of their value system. It is a part of who they are. And it becomes a challenge for the organization to sometimes bring them together in the same table. Now, there is a very beautiful experiment which was done on monkeys, And in this particular experiment, what happened is there were 5 monkeys who were put in a cage together. And then there was a rope which was, put across the room. And then there were some bananas hanged in the, rope. And there was a ladder. Now, monkey, as their normal behavior, what would they do? They would climb up the ladder and grab the banana, right? Now, the moment any of the monkey the first monkey, when he went up and tried to grab the banana, what did the researchers do was they threw cold icy water into the monkey who was doing that, all right? The second monkey went up and they did the same thing. The third monkey went up, they did the same thing. Fourth, fifth, all of the monkeys who went up to grab the banana.
They're creating trouble so that the task cannot be completed.
Yes. Now what happened? The next time any of the monkeys was trying to climb up, the others would put them down, all right? And then to make it more interesting, what they did is they picked up one of the monkeys and replaced it with another monkey, a new one, not from the original 5. And what happened? Now the new monkey is not aware of what has happened before, have not been treated to cold water treatment, and obviously climbed up the ladder. The moment the monkey touched the ladder, all 4 pulled that monkey down. And gradually in that experiment, eventually all the 4 other monkeys were also replaced. So now there is a whole new group of monkeys who did not have any clue why they are not going up and grabbing the bananas, but none of the monkeys dared to climb the ladder. So this is how unconscious bias creeps in at every level, because somebody has been met with some kind of experience, right? The first batch of monkeys are the one who have been...
So basically the chain of thought should be driving from top to bottom. Everybody should be part of that chain.
Exactly, everybody. So even in school, like you and I read history, right? Our history was about, how Britishers came to India, freedom movement. If you look into that kind of education as well, there was a hero and there was a villain. Right? And this is a basic elementary, level of, I would say, biasness, which definitely creeps in slowly. And then our, culture, our, different systems, caste, of course, religion, of course, people from a marginalized section of the community. Now, let's say we put them all together in an organization. Of course, that is how organizations are made up of people, right? They come from various backgrounds. Now, imagine the horizon of the diversity, right? So, in grassroots level, the second line of leaders who are actually every day interacting with the, you could say, the team. The people who are actually, bringing in
the second line of a command.
Not the second line. In fact, the second line who is dealing with the people, the mass who's coming to work. Now,
I
that
mean, those manager or the
managers
directors,
and
okay.
then even the agents, you know, if we take that structure, agent and manager and senior manager and the high up in the authority, as the top line and the bottom line are not in sync, what happens is there is deviation. We come to the same thing. One is resistance to change, another is unconscious bias. Then also, if in the leadership level there is less of diverse, people coming from diverse culture. Let's say all the leaders, maybe majority of them belong to a particular region or belong to a particular community, or maybe there is less representation of genders, within the leadership. That would again not actually justify the goals that have been framed for the organization, because at the end of the day, maybe that group of people would be thinking only of 5 things out of maybe 10, 100, 1,000 issues or challenges that are there when we talk about diversity and inclusion. So it is very, very important that when it comes to leadership, even the leader should have, there should be diversity in the leadership as well. Another challenge where I think organizations, again, when it comes to, what leaders fail, you would say accountability or measures to see how the DEI programs are being run or how effective it has been. If there's no accountability, then again, the entire effort gets derailed.
I think, Leeza, from this point of time, I would probably see, and again, not citing larger organizations, because larger organizations definitely have this concept of DEI because they're almost everywhere in the world.
Absolutely.
And they know exactly, how many, even if I take our own country, if I work in automobile industry, lots of South Indian people actually work there. And very few, people come from Japan, people come from South India, North India, and there's so many other, I talk about a smaller organization. Considering we can take any life example here, there are different diverse culture within an organization is there, and then there was coaching and leadership which got delivered to them. What impact does it bring to an organization, or if there is actually, you have done some coaching, if you've done anything like that, and you've seen, because you also talked about the measurement of it, you've seen that organization scaled to new heights after that.
Yes. So, see, when it comes to creating awareness, that is the most important thing, because whenever there is an objective, there is a mission where we want, see, as far as the diversity and inclusion is concerned, if we talk about bigger organizations or mid-size organization or even small organizations, what is the objective of any organization? That the people in the organization, they should be working together, be productive, all right, and have a congenial work environment, right? So in order to create that kind of congenial work environment, and if we talk about smaller organizations, especially when there are awareness trainings, where there are DEI, trainings, and when I say trainings, again, what we mostly see in even bigger organizations is these trainings are structured and the topics are covered mostly from a US or a UK perspective, right? However, if we talk about diversity and inclusion, every country, every region, even within a country, a state, a particular district, if we talk about India, so there is so much of diversity. Now, how can one size fit all would apply? It would not. So in order to have effective trainings and awareness programs, what is important is to understand what is the dynamics of that organization, who are the people involved, and then create those kind of trainings for them, those kind of awareness, because within the same organization, within the same team, there could be people who could have some understanding of equity, all right, and equality, and there could be someone who may be coming with their own biases, right? Now, to bring them together to a platform where they understand each other, what is effective is even in bigger and smaller organizations, I would say what is effective is group, community activities, group activities, where people come and share their experiences, because that is how we best learn, right? Vis-a-vis straight jacket training, if you have a discussion group where everybody brings in their experiences and then they share this perspective, what happens is when we are a part of such discussions, we are more open to understand the perspective of the other person as well, right? Those are, I would say, are better way of imparting trainings rather than, and then this should be continuous process.
And then one question which pops my mind is, and how practical is this specifically?
Yeah, I will.
Because, you have, there's a director level, there's a manager level, there's an employee level, and then there's a leadership level.
Absolutely.
Does it it happens every level as a different training program? Or is it like one training program where everybody comes in?
Okay. So, a more effective ways, there should be one training where everybody comes in. There should be a leadership training, because leaders needs to be more empathic, right? And they need to understand the pulse of their team, right? And then there should be, support group training, where let's say the HR, all right, who are given special training to understand the various needs of the group. Now, when it comes to smaller organization, one challenge could be budget. Yeah. So that is definitely a
I think
challenge.
more than budget, Leeza, I still believe there's another challenge, and that's pretty practical that I've seen in my own working life. If I am closer to, see in this training, I'm sitting next to my boss. I might be restricted to, say something.
Yeah.
Right? That's something my boss actually wanted to hear. Let's be open, have an open culture, talk about, what's not good for me, what is that I'm doing right and stuff like that.
Absolutely.
But that never happens. How often do you actually see that, and how often do you work on those?
That is very much prevalent, where irrespective of, how the leader, comes up and tells you that I want to understand, be open with me. Unless and until the leader talks the talk and walks the talk, and make the team members and the people who are, down in the hierarchy, unless and until the leader actually creates that kind of comfort and atmosphere, where what happens is, what is the challenge that we face when we are talking to a boss or a supervisor or a leader? The very idea of being judged.
Yes.
That is what pulls us back.
Exactly.
That, if I say this, maybe it will,
and then you have surroundings who also tells you or tell you that, if you do this will happen.
Absolutely. So that is where the awareness training comes in. The more and more there is awareness, the more and more there is acceptance. Because the first thing is acceptance. You need to, one needs to have an open mindset. And when there is an open mindset and there is acceptance that, yes, the other person could be different from, what I perceive him or her to be. So once there is acceptance, that is where the change happens.
Got it.
It is a gradual process, and what
something that I was about to come to, because if you start sowing the seed right now, you cannot expect the fruit immediately.
Absolutely.
So it's a gradual process.
It's a gradual process.
And with this, we bring to the end of the two-part discussion on DEI, where related laws and implementing policies with authenticities. Today, we uncovered the crucial role leadership plays in driving inclusivity and fostering a culture where DEI principles thrive. From actionable strategies for leaders to the importance of the matrix and benchmarks. It's clear that DEI is not just a vision, but a measurable and impactful reality when approached with intentions and authenticity. Leeza, thank you so much again with these valuable thoughts and, covering us for the next, in the next episode, because it is not something that could have easily been covered in the one episode.
Absolutely.
And, your work continues to inspire the organization. So good luck with that. And I hope, more and more people get associated with with you and learn from you as to how DI can be implemented in the organizations. And to my audience again, if this resonated with you, if you would like to share it with your network, join the movement to create workplaces that champions diversity, equity, and inclusion, then don't forget to subscribe to Collaborative Canvas on Spotify and YouTube and LinkedIn for more inspiring conversation. Your feedback fuels our journey, so leave us a comment, suggestion, or review. It means a word to us. Until next time, stay curious, stay collaborative, and keep painting that canvas with me. Thank you so much.